I'm Dr. Marianne Cintron, founder of Step-by-Step Dyslexia Solutions. I've been an educator for 20 years and a classroom teacher for 10, but I've been a mom for 30. It gets my attention to know that 6 out of 10 students aren't ready for kindergarten, and it sets them up on a course for continuous failure. So I believe every home is a classroom and every parent is a teacher. So I woke up a couple weeks ago with a strong impression to create a webinar for parents who are home with their preschoolers, because I was having several parents asking me, can you help my 4- and 5-year-olds? And I'm like, oh, I work with middle school and elementary school. So I believe I was God inspired to create something for you. And I really hope this is helpful. Many of us have coaches in our lives for many reasons. So if you don't know what to do with your child at home, I don't want you to feel bad at all, because without some extra coaching and help how to work with your child at home, you might not know that. You know, I'm getting some help with my speaking opportunities, some help with weight loss, and some help with trainings. So we all have coaches for in different capacities. So the problem that we're facing right now is that private school is pretty expensive for parents. And in order to be in the Head Start programs, usually you have to be pretty low income. And so parents need training because they want to help their kids at home. So as a result, children are entering kindergarten not even knowing letter names and sounds, not knowing how, sometimes it's a requirement to know how to spell your name. And there's huge separation anxiety, not only for the child, but for the parent. And it doesn't have to be that way. So I believe this webinar is going to help you. I'm going to share those 10 secrets to get your child ready for school success. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you. Not the screen, but the PowerPoint. Okay, so here is the title. We have a 2-day webinar. And I have a question for you. Do you remember who taught you to tie your shoes? Do you remember your childhood encounter with books? I want to share with you a little bit about my journey to be the specialist to prepare this webinar for you. As a dyslexia specialist, I have done a lot of intervention with summer school programs for preschoolers. And in the middle 1990s, when my own children were in preschool, I did a lot of volunteering. And the director of the preschool actually suggested that I take the CBEST, which is the test for people to be substitute teachers. She says, you're here all the time. Why don't you just take the CBEST and be a sub? So that's how I started being very close with my kids in preschool. I learned many tricks there, and I love being with my kids. I think being with your kids at home is such a special time, and you'll never get that time back. And you can create so many memories, and the bonding time that you have with your child is just priceless. So after I volunteered in their classrooms, I actually went and got my credential, and I really enjoyed working with children of all ages, and I never thought I would be working now with preschoolers. But one of my last year of education in the classroom was 2018, and I left the school system and I was traveling the nation with an organization that taught teachers how to work with kindergartners. And so that's what I did. So I learned about the structure, the systems, the processes and procedures that need to be in place for those who are struggling with reading in kindergarten. So the aim of this program is to let you see the big picture, let you see where your child's going to be in kindergarten, what's going to be expected of him or her, and what you can do at home to help your child. Now, some of those children are going to move at a faster pace, and some of them aren't. So while I'm a dyslexia specialist, this webinar is not about dyslexia at all. But I want you to know that The strategies we use for dyslexic children work wonderfully for all children because we work to students' strengths and we work to their weaknesses. So I want to welcome you. It's so great to have you here. This is a picture of my family, my husband and I, Will. We have been married 30 years, and one of the pictures in the upper left is of us in Hawaii celebrating. I have a picture on the bottom here with us riding our bikes on Huntington Beach, and we just love getting out in the sun. And here's my entire family. We have a blended family, and we're all very close, and here are the kids from my marriage. So the learning outcomes for today, we're going to address upper and lowercase letter recognition. We're going to address phonics, which is letter to sound association. We're going to address rhyming, how to help your child share a favorite toy and tell a story, and then comprehension of using pictures and associated stories. Let me move this little bar. Stories being told. So I'm going to ask you, when you chat, go ahead and chat when I ask for a response, but please save your questions for the end of the webinar, and also have a piece of paper that you can jot some notes, because you're going to want to keep notes of this, and that's also one of the special ways for you to remember as well. And then save those questions for next. Okay, moving forward. So tomorrow's learning outcomes, we're going to be developing comprehension and reviewing the types of reading. We're going to do reading and building words and reading sentences. We're going to start with writing and then teach your child when to stay inside the lines. And I'm excited because many people don't know what that means. And we're going to talk about sequential memory, which might be familiar to you if you're a special ed teacher. So I want to see, let me see if I can, do a show of hands. If you're with me still, okay? Give me a high five in the chat. We have 14 people on this webinar. We had about 35 sign up, so hopefully people will come in later. Yeah, people are raising their hands. Thank you for your participation. I'm going to try to make this real engaging. I have a colorful, engaging PowerPoint, but I want to have your participation. And those of you who didn't know, I have people from Saudi Arabia here and from Oman in here, so I'm very excited. So the first thing is, don't forget the incentives and rewards. We want students to know that they're being rewarded. When I was a young child, I was rewarded with food. We don't want to go there. No M&Ms. My father-in-law used to give my kids M&Ms all the time. No, let's deal with stickers and colorful charts. And work with your child about 10 minutes at a time, because we want to work with them getting up to 15 minutes, up to 20 minutes, because when they're in the classroom listening to the teacher read, they're going to be expected to sit sometimes 20 minutes and be still. So and I provide the materials for you if you want to participate in my webinar tomorrow and even in my training. So just know, these are easy for you to find, or you can order my kit. Okay. So our first learning outcome is learning uppercase and lowercase letter recognition. First of all, you need to assess your child for alphabet knowledge. So what you do is you get an alphabet line. It kind of looks like a number line, but it has your alphabet down here. And you ask your child, point to the letter A, point to the letter D, point to the letter F. So you're going to go through all the letters, and I have an assessment paper that I'm going to give you that looks like this, and you're going to make notes in it. So you might have 3 copies of this, and the first copy is the child knows how to point to the letter. So you're going to say the letters randomly, B, P, D, F. Have your child just point, because if they don't even know how to point, you're going to start at the very, very beginning. You'll be surprised. Some students will know how to point. And this is also a good time to teach them the ABC song. I'm going to sing it for you, so don't laugh. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I've said my ABCs. Tell me what you think of me. So that's a really good song. I have a parent who has dyslexia, and she said she does not know where the letters are in the alphabet unless she sings that song. And then many of us, even through our adulthood, where is M? Where is P? So we might hum that to ourselves until we get familiar to the order of letters. L, M, N, O, P. Oh, there's the P. So it's interesting to know what we don't know. So the second assessment you're going to have for your child later on down the road, not now, but when you say the letter A, do they know the sound? Ah. When you say the letter B, can they say the letter sound? B. When you say the letter name C, can they say the letter sound? K. So that's another assessment. The third assessment is going to be, can they tell you what letter says A? Can they say A? If not, can they point to the A? Do they know what letter says Do they know what letter says D? So the goal is to be able to have them say it, D, but at this point, they might just be able to point to it, and that's okay. So that's what your assessment's going to show you. So give me a show of hands if you understand the assessment part. Okay. A lot of people raising their hands. Thank you for that participation. Okay, and again, I'm not responding to chats. My co-host, Lorena, will respond to chats if you have a question that she can answer right away. So here's another, okay, so I have lowercase assessments, and the other one was the uppercase assessment. Now, I've developed a reading app. It's called Dunking Dyslexia, and it's available on iOS and Android. And you can check it out over these next 3 days for free. Exercise 1 has letter names and sounds. So you can have your child listen to those. If they're a little bit advanced and they're ready to write their letters, you can let them listen to that exercise 1 and start writing their letter names and sounds. And see which ones they know. That's another assessment I give, is what can they write? So preschoolers 4.5 and 5 typically don't know that unless they've been taught in a preschool class. So this is going to be available for you free when you attend tomorrow, and you're going to get it free. So one thing I have the students do is find the letters in a box. So here I have the letters I have for my step-by-step reading kit, because we're teaching the children letter sound association with phonics. So I have the letters in lowercase here. I purchased uppercase here, but this all comes in the kit that I provide for you if you want to purchase my kit. But I would break all these up and put them in another Tupperware, and ask the child to find the letters that you're working with just that day. Now, what's really interesting about my program is I'm following the research-based guidelines that your brain learns in special patterns as well. So we don't teach the A first, and then the B, and then the C. We don't teach the letters in that order. We teach the letters P first, and then B, and then I'll show you the other letters, and I'll show you the order. And that's based on a speech pathologist. Her recommendation, she worked directly under people who worked with Sam Orton and Orton-Gillingham, and I'll share a little bit more about that later with you as well. Another thing I include in my kit is the letters, a stack of letters, and I urge you to get a stack of letters and let your child spell his name, his or her name. And then also I recommend getting maybe little wood letters. So I want to tell you a little bit about Sam Orton and Anna Gillingham. Would you raise your hand if you've ever heard of Sam Orton and Anna Gillingham? So in the education world, there are the people who were the pioneers of how to help dyslexic children. And back in the 1930s and 40s, they called the struggling readers having trouble, they called it word blindedness. So Sam Orton was a neurologist, and Anna Gillingham was a psychologist and a teacher. And they worked together to realize that children needed to use all their senses, and they learn best that way. So we want to have them looking at bright colors. We need to address the auditory, the visual, the kinesthetic ways to learn. So just by a show of hands, how many people learn better when you're seeing something? Bright colors, you want to see it on the board. You need to see it, even visual pictures. How many of you learn better when you're hearing something? Maybe a book on tape, you have to hear it, repeat what you said, I have to hear it again. How many of you learn better when you're touching something, hands-on? That's the kinesthetic modality. So a lot of us need all of these modalities to learn. Certainly when you're taking notes, that's also a kinesthetic modality. Thank you for your participation. So Sam Orton and Anna Gillingham realized kids need multisensory, I want to say multicultural, multisensory, but also there is a systematic, structured, and sequential process that needs to be with reading. So we all have processes and sequential things in our lives, how we get dressed in the morning, how we put our makeup on, how we prepare our meals, how we get our children ready for school, and how we get ready for camping. So systems and procedures are good, and having things structured and in the right order makes sense. So here are some letters. I recommend picking up some letters that a child can touch for their name. I just picked these 3 out for Tom. So they can color them and fill them with glue and beads and decorate them and make them all pretty. Get them engaged. And you could even put magnets on the back of them and put them on the refrigerator. Get the child engaged with learning his or her name. So so if you think you've learned how to help your child with that first outcome, can you raise your hand? Let me see if you understand getting the child to learn the letter, pick out the letters. Okay, great. Thank you for your participation. I hope you stay focused on this because it really takes a lot of concentration. I know it's a temptation to multitask when you're on a webinar, so this is really critical information you don't want to miss. Number 2, phonics, the preparation and practice. So now we're going to match pictures to the chart, the ABC chart. And then the pictures are going to be taught in the order that we teach. So first the P, and then the B, and then the T. And so we're going to have the child use the cards. First, they're going to find the P, as P is the beginning sound. And then we're going to match it to, let me go back to this. Then we're going to find the card that has P as the ending sound. So P for the beginning sound could be pin, pen, okay, as the ending sound, it could be mop. And I have pictures of this later on. So this is where the child is going to put those pictures on the alphabet chart. So this is a little bit of a clue of the order that we teach our letters. We start with P, but day 2, we review it. Then we introduce B. And then, so the child's going to find the letters for words with P and B. Day 4, we're going to repeat it. So day 5, we're going to introduce the letter T. Day 6, we're going to review all 3 of them. So every day we introduce a new letter, And then the following day, it's review of all those letters learned. So in the beginning, it's a little bit shorter, and you can supplement with additional learning tasks. But later on, it's going to get a little bit more lengthy, and it's so much fun. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my training, which is going to be it's going to be on June 11th, and I'll tell you more about that tomorrow. But you're going to learn the order of how we're going to teach these words. So how do you find pictures for your activities? You can create them. You can find them in magazines. They're in calendars. You can purchase them from me. You can get your child involved, and you're going to place them on the alphabet cards, the alphabet strip. So here are some of the pictures in my kit. Here we have, so this is actually a pet. I wanted to put a pet here because we have a dog, and this is also a cat, and we call it a pet. So here we have our P, then we have our B words, and we have our D words. Then we have our C words. Now this other shape, I have it as a cat. You could see the different beautiful cards I have. Or you can find them in a calendar. Calendars have a lot of these little strips on the bottom you can cut up and use. You can make them yourself, go on the internet and pick out pictures. You can find old workbooks that have pictures in them, things that are out of print and able to cut up, and there are other workbooks available to help your child with these skills. So this is what I do. I lay these alphabet strips on my rug, and so here I have the green are the beginning sounds. So I pick the words, the pictures. It's all about pictures starting off. I have a pen, and I have a pin, and I have a pet. So I'm going to have the child put these pictures and say what they are. That's that auditory aspect of the multisensory. So you want them to say it after you. They're going to put it with the P. Then we have the box, and the child repeats box and places it with the B. Then we have a bag. The child repeats bag, and you place it with B. Then we have a bed. So the child repeats, and you place it with the B. Then we're going to do ending sounds. So when you do the P, you're going to do the P for the ending, the first day. So I have a cup, and the child's going to place it where the P is. A cap. I have a mop, and I have a nap. So the key is have your child repeat the picture name, and then place it where it belongs. On day 2, you're going to do the beginning sounds of both and the ending sounds of both. So here I have a web, and I have other pictures that we're accumulating. And here I have cat, kit, nut. These are other pictures that will go with the ending sound of T, which is the 3rd letter. So then another thing we do is we bring the picture cards out for rhymes. And these are blue. This didn't come out blue, but they are blue. We have man, can, and man. And you're just teaching your child, man, can rhymes with man. Lip rhymes with zip. Log rhymes with dog. Now, when we go into the next step, we're going to learn about rhyming, but I just want to introduce that here with the picture cards, because when you do my training, this is taught separately. The rhyming is separately, as well as beginning and ending sound substitutions. So then I have a set of cards that are just the alphabet, and you could play fish with these. These are a bright pink color. They don't show up pink here, but you can play fish as you both have a set of the alphabets, and you're only going to use 5 cards at a time, so it doesn't bog the child down, and you're only going to use the letters that the student is working on. So you can also buy a workbook. Some of the workbooks at Staples, I've seen wonderful workbooks that have a lot of activities to help your child with fun learning. One of the activities we do is teaching the child same or different. So I have these two cats, and then I have a cat and a dog. So you're going to ask the child, this is a listening skill, and this is very important in kindergarten, and it's the first step in my training. So you're going to ask the child to hold up the two kittens if it's the same word. Hold up the cat and the dog if it's a different word, okay? So listening. So is ash the same as ash? Raise your hand if that is the same, and you're going to raise up the two kittens. You with me? I know it takes a while to get into your chat participation mode. Okay, so ash, thank you for your participation, is ash. What about arm and arm? If you're going to raise up the two kittens, raise your hand. Excellent. What about ask and an? Are they the same? You're going to raise, which one? If you're going to raise the cat and the dog, raise your hand. Yes, because those are different. What about box and fox? If you're going to raise the cat and the dog, raise your hand. Because they're different. So that's how you're going to do it. And this is also in my kit. You're going to, or you could create your own. You're going to select 6 words with the letters for the day. So I have box and fox, bag and bag, bed and lead. Children can also use thumbs up, thumbs down. And if you're doing this activity with older kids, they might prefer thumbs up, thumbs down. Now I provide word lists. I show you what words are with the cards, and then I give you the variety of words that you can select from. And you just plan the day ahead of time, and it's very easy to do the planning. Another listening skill we teach are give your child 2 toys, 2 objects. I found these at the pool supply store. They float, or actually they sink, so the child has to go in and get them, but they're really fun. So I have a green for yes and a red for no. So now we ask the child, do they hear a P in pup? Raise your hand if you're going to give the green. Do you hear a P in pup? So your child's going to raise the green toy. If they don't raise it, you're just going to very calmly say, okay, so there is a P in pup. It's at the beginning. So you're going to lift this green toy. Do you hear a P in cake? And the child would lift the red disc. Do you hear a P in pan? And the child would again raise the green disc. So that's a very fun listening task for them. Again, with the words for the day. Another task is, we're going to ask, where do they hear the sound? Where do you hear the P in pet? And you can have 3 pieces of paper and ask, is it the beginning, the middle, or the end? This is tricky for children who have some learning challenges, but they need to learn that the P is in the beginning. And then when you use your cards where the P is at the end, you want to see them point to the ending of the word. So we're just going to be looking at 3-letter words when we work with the kids at this level. So raise your hand if that's an enjoyable 3 listening skills. And you won't do all these the same day. You can alternate the different days with your child, but have them on a piece of paper and give it a check mark after you've done that exercise for the day. Okay, good participation. Next, we're going to teach the child the cards matching the letter for the day. So you're adding the picture. So we have can, cat, cap. And then we have ending sounds. There's a little review of what we did with the cards. Now we're going to move with rhyming. So if you could hold your hand out in front of you, we call this, some people know this as the onset and the rhyme which is R-I-M-E. But we want to teach children that rhymes are different in the beginning sound only. For example, I would teach my child sat, at, sat. Okay, so the next word is cat, at, cat. Try that at home for Matt, okay? I'm going to ask you if you did it, so I want you to do it. Matt, at, Matt. So you tell your child, what stays the same? The ending sound. That is when you know you have a rhyme. Only the beginning sound changes. So I want you to give me a raised hand if you practiced at home right now, like I asked you. Okay, proud of you. Very good. So in my training, we practice this. We go, I put you in your little room and you work with another teacher, another parent, and you give some practice with this. But this is really nice. The research says that rhyming actually begins at home. It doesn't, they teach rhymes in kindergarten, but it should start at home. When a child is 3 to 4 years old, you should start teaching them rhyming. I'm going to let you have a minute or have 30 seconds to read this. So in my step-by-step reading program, I use music with reading. So it's very specific where music goes in the left ear and spelling exercises go in the right ear. For preschoolers, you can have music in the background. And I used to do a lot of substitute teaching in kindergarten when I was working on my doctorate. And they learn so well when they're learning with music. And it's playful and fun. So some more research on the explicit instruction. This is what I want to show here. Children are making the connection between rhyming, demonstrating sounds, and the written words. Rhyming is very important for learning to decode, and rhyming is very difficult for dyslexic children. So if your child struggles with this, it could be a red flag that your child has dyslexia. Just be aware. I have a student who we're tutoring. He's in the 2nd grade now, but his mother noticed signals that he was having learning challenges, and she thought he was dyslexic when he was 4 and 5 years old. The schools gave him speech help, but he had dyslexia, so he needed a very particular intervention. When he was in 1st grade, he didn't know his letter names and sounds, and she came to us when he was going into 2nd grade. He still didn't know letter names and sounds. So I trained a tutor who helped him learn the letter names and sounds pretty much with this kind of a system. And he started last March. He started learning letter names and sounds. In July, he knew his alphabet and he was ready to start our reading program. So this March, he has already exited special ed. This little guy started teaching the grammar and phonics rules to his baby sister. And because he was homeschooled, he had a whiteboard at home, and his mom took a picture of him teaching his baby sister, who was a kindergartner, the grammar and phonics rules. And she was so proud of him because he thought his little sister was smarter than him. So we just got word that he is reading between a 3rd and 5th grade level. And he is a 2nd grader, so going into 3rd. So we're very proud of him and very proud of his tutor and very proud of his mom for advocating. So there's a variety of ways to show rhymes. Here's another variety that you can show. Make learning rhyming enjoyable. I'm going to share a video with you.
There once was an ugly duckling with feathers all stubby and round, And the other birds, in so many words, say, get out of town. Get out, get out, get out of town. And he went with a quack and a waddle and a quack and a flurry of eider down. Would you like me to tell you the rest of the story? That poor little ugly duckling went wandering far and near, but at every place they said to his face, now get out of here. Get out, get out, get out of here. And he went with a quack and a waddle and a quack and a very unhappy deer. All through the winter time he hid himself away, ashamed to show his face, afraid of what others might say. All through the winter in his lonely clump of weed, till a flock of swans spied him there, very soon agreed, you're a very fine swan indeed. A swan? Me a swan? Come on. He said, yes, you're a swan. Take a look at yourself in the lake and you'll see. Look, he saw, and he said, I am a swan. I'm not such an ugly duckling, no feathers, both stubby and brown. For in fact, these birds in so many words said, the best in town. The best, the best, the best in town. Not a quack, not a quack, not a waddle or a quack, but a glide and a whistle and a snowy white back. And a head so noble and high. Say, who's an ugly duckling? Not I. Not I.
So that's what parents and teachers do. Give me a raised hand if you enjoyed hearing that little video. It gave me the chills when I heard it because it reminds me of the cancer children with their shaved heads. And Hans Christian Andersen was dyslexic. So he was always one of my favorites. And so another thing that teaches rhymes, Dr. Seuss has many, many books with rhymes, and I want to thank you for your participation. Poetry, my aunt gave me this book of poems when my son was born. She was a strong lover of poetry. Also, an old thing we used to do when I was young, and also when my children were young, we had felt boards. So you can teach rhyme with your felt boards. Hey diddle diddle, the cat in the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, the little dog smiled to see such a sight, and the dish ran away with the spoon. So in my kit, I give you a surprise. I give you a felt board, and I give you some felt characters that you can start with your child. Here's some more. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. And the child holds the felt characters and puts them on the board. These are some other ones. Some of them have music to them. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. Everywhere that Mary went, Mary went, Mary went. Everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. It followed her to school one day, school one day, school one day. Followed her to school one day, which was against the rule. And I'd have to practice the rest of it, but songs with rhymes, felt boards, make it fun. We have Little Jack Horner, Little Bo Peep. Anyway, so it jumps right in, getting ready for kindergarten, adding a letter from the chart. You can choose from 3 words, match beginning sounds. Which 2 words? Fan, man, mop. Okay, fan and man. These 2 we're going to teach rhyme. Mop is the outlier, so mop does not fit, okay? So different types of games you can use with your cards. So step 4 is learning outcome 4 is how to share a favorite toy or a favorite story. So you want your child to pick his or her favorite toy. This is going to build confidence, speaking skills, develop their skills, and it's such a pleasure to share what you love, right? So you're going to ask questions. Who gave it to you? What do you use it for? Where do you find it? Why? Why do you like it so much? How do you play with it? Because some children will bring their toys in that others have never seen, and they don't know how to play with it. But when they're in kindergarten, there's a lot of sharing going on, and students need to be brave. They need to be confident to speak. And first share what your favorite thing is. So I would share with my child, these are 2 little soft turtles that my teacher friend gave me. I love them because it reminds me of having a friend who gave me this gift. These turtles are very soft. I don't know why they remind her of me, other than she said, you're the teacher and they're the little student. Oops. So, you know what? How do I get back to that? So you're going to ask who, what, when, where, and why questions. And why do I like it? It's just a good reminder. Where do you keep it? I keep it on my shelf in my office. And then our learning outcome number 5 is we want to use pictures to demonstrate understanding. You can read with your child at home where you're just reading and you're not asking a bunch of questions. You can read with your child and then you can teach them how to turn the pages from left to right. Teach them you have to be very gentle, because now they're going to be reading books that are paper, not cardboard. And they have to be very careful because they're going to be reading books that other people are going to be reading also. And they're never going to color in these books. These are not coloring books. So they're going to be with teachers that are going to be asking them questions. So you can take some time and ask some questions about the books you share. There's fairy tales that help develop the child's imagination. Cinderella, Little Mermaid. And so what we do with our books, we do picture walks. For these little preschoolers, you take your book and talk about the pictures from beginning to end. They talk about life events. They talk about values, choices, and fears. Are You My Mother is one of our favorite stories about a little bird who loses his mom. She actually went out to get food for him, and he falls out of the nest and he starts looking for his mom, and in the end, his mom is reunited with him, feeds him, and he just loves her. And I go into more depth tomorrow, to teach you about this book. This is a story about a little boy having a baby sister, and his mom goes to the hospital. And this is actually true because my son has a little sister. So he was taken care of by his 2 different aunts, and he talks about the challenges of being with the 2 different aunts. One was nice and one was mean. Cookies and Milk addresses a child's fear. Kids have fears that something's in the closet or under the bed. Well, this little bear had a fear that there was a monster in the basement, but it was a wood stove. So it's a really fun story to help overcome a fear. I'll Always Love You is a story about a little boy and his puppy that grows up, and it shows all the fun that happens with his dog. And in the end, his dog gets old and sick and dies, and it talks about, this is one of life's events, how he buries the dog and has memorializes the dog. And then many of you have faiths out there that you want to share with your child. We're Christians in our family, so we really enjoyed teaching our children the Bible stories because they're very colorful, but use whatever faith you have and share those stories with your child. Another video from a child's perspective. Oh, first I want to ask you a question. In the beginning, who do you remember tied your shoe? Can you put in the chat that you remember? Who helped you tie your shoe? Okay, we have a lot of responses. Okay, that's a very important time. And then raise your hand if you remember your first encounter with reading. I've talked to friends and they remember those encounters when they were at home reading with mom and dad. So this is a really sweet story I want to share with you.
My name is Jack, and I was going to talk about reading. And reading is where you have to look at the words. You have to point at it. Also, you have to do your hardest to work at doing it. And it's great to read because it's fun. That to me is I do not know how to read. And that's a little interesting because I'm a 5-year-old, 5.5-year-old. And I have a lot of money. I have like, I think 200, I think. And reading is very important because you know how, now you know how to read. And that's good. That is very good. I know how to talk, which is pretty hard as well. But if you tie, you don't have to let anybody else tie because you know how. And that's good. That's very good. Well, I have read, but I take a very long time. So that's why I do not like to read. But I do it anyways. I get it out of my way because Dad likes to make me read. Why does he like to make me read? Because he wants me to learn to read, and that's good. I just do not know how to read that good. But you will, right? I am sending this to the whole world. I know that, but this is a very good video. Goodbye.
So that video is a funny kid video, the importance of reading. Someone commented that they couldn't hear it very well. And you might want to just check that out on your own. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to turn the volume up for the video. Oops. But this little boy barely knew how to read, and he was 5 years old. So he talks about knowing how to tie a shoe and having hundreds of dollars, but his dad wants him to learn to read, and he doesn't have self-confidence at all. So we're going to help. He's one of those statistics. Remember, 6 out of 10 children are not ready for kindergarten. So here's what we've learned in day 1. I want you to show me a show of hands if you learned about upper and lowercase letter recognition. Okay, yes you did. Okay, give me a show of hands if now you understand phonics, letter to sound association, and you have activities, many activities you can try with your child. Excellent, thank you for those show of hands. And raise your hand again if you understand rhyming now, how to teach rhyming with your thumb, and then selecting pictures, storybooks. We actually have the book, The Ugly Duckling. So I would show that book with a video. And then learning outcome number 4, how to share a favorite toy and tell a story. Do you have some ideas now how to share that with your child? How to bring them out? When I taught this at a church one time, there were a lot of parents who weren't read to by their parents. So they didn't know how to do any of these with their children. So this is a real needed thing right now. And then the last outcome was comprehension. Move this bar down. Using pictures associated to stories. How many of you understand that more now? So pictures. Okay, very good. So tomorrow, tomorrow the learning outcomes are going to be developing comprehension a little bit more. I'm going to go in depth with that. We're going to review the types of reading. We're going to start with reading and building words and reading sentences. We're going to get started with writing and when to stay inside the line. And people don't know what that really means, but also we're going to talk about sequential memory. So now is a good time for questions. Let's open up our chat. If you have any questions, we have about 7 minutes. I would love to answer those questions for you. And Lorena can answer as well. So, let me see. Any questions out there? One question that comes up often is, how many activities should I do a day? How long should I do the activities for? I would stick to 10 minutes at a time and take a break. Take 10 minutes, work on this and take a break. If your child is older and is able to focus more, you can do 2 to 3 activities in a section, or you can do 1 activity in a variety of sections. When they're in kindergarten, and I'm going to teach you this at my training on July 11th, we actually have 5 very clear steps, which you're going to do every day. And you would spend 9 minutes on each step each day. And the overall goal is just for about 45 minutes. But to get your child to that point, these activities break up 10 minutes at a time. And another question that comes up is, grandparents can help, aunts and uncles. You can even have a sibling that understands what you're doing, work with the child. You know, children like to get attention from their siblings. So having an older brother or sister work with your preschooler could be very helpful. Also, when your child understands the book, we're going to talk tomorrow about doing a picture walk, but when they understand the stories, they could even show that story to their younger sibling, and that empowers them, makes them feel really smart. So I'm not seeing any questions, and I'm not sure, my co-host isn't able to get on either, so I'm not sure if that's, can you raise your hand if you can access the chat? Okay, so you can access it. I'm so glad you guys are all here. Why don't you give some comments about what you've learned? What was your biggest takeaway from today? Anybody share your biggest takeaway? Using the same picture for the beginning and ending sound. That's right, you can use it twice. And I just color it on 2 different colors of paper and using those same pictures for rhymes. Biggest takeaway, getting that alphabet list, that alphabet chart, that's right, and just put it on your floor. Another big takeaway, you like using the movies, the videos. YouTube is full of fun learning YouTubes. And the different variety of books, that's right, we have a variety of books. I'm glad you like those. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, well, let me stop my share. Maybe more people will question. Okay, stopping my share. I'm so glad you're with me today. So maybe we'll get some questions now when I'm not sharing. Let me know if this is a lot of new information for you. Would you raise your hand? A lot of new information. So I'm going to be getting a training next month in some more Orton-Gillingham strategies. And I'm going, because it's going to validate what I know. So, and I'm going to get certification that the schools like to see in Orton-Gillingham. So if you know this information, let this validate you that you're on the right track. Keep doing what you're doing. And I hope to see you tomorrow. I'm just so blessed that you guys are interested in your child's well-being. Being an at-home mom can be really quite a challenge when they're so demanding of your time, and especially if you're trying to work out of your home. I tried to do several different home businesses while my children were at home, and once in a while I found a neighbor that could watch them while I had to run out. But spending quality time with my children at home, I will never regret it. I can't say I wish I had more time with my child, because I had all the time in the world with my kids, and they're wonderful kids now. They're so appreciative, and the fruit of your labors are not going to be unrewarded. So I want to just thank you for being here. We're going to go ahead and close. This webinar will be available if you know someone who didn't get to see it, or is going to be on the webinar tomorrow and maybe missed today. I can send them a copy. But tomorrow we're going to learn the second, learn 5 outcomes of the 10 secrets to help your child prepare for school success. So I'm Dr. Marianne Cintron, Director of Step-by-Step Dyslexia Solutions. Friend me on Facebook. I'm so glad you were here, and welcome to all of you across the world. Bye-bye now.